Ratchet & Clank straddles the line between remake and reboot, just edging on to the reboot side to make it eligible for this list, and thank God it does, because it's a whole lot of fun and deserves to be recognised for it. There's something to be said for a game that is just straight up fun to play. Ratchet & Clank takes the tired and true formula of the previous games, pumps some gorgeous graphics and new weapons into the system, and lets the player run wild. Insomniac have always nailed the weapon-based shooters, and this is no exception. Every weapon has its place and all are incredibly fun to use, from the Groovatron to the ever-present Rhino. Bringing Ratchet & Clank to the new generation of consoles just makes them look as amazing as ever. The environments are vast and gorgeous, and all the characters have some amazing fidelity to them. Being able to see all the individual strands of fur on Ratchet blew my mind at first, and as the action got crazier towards the end of the game, I was just continually blown away by how stunning it all looked. Part of me wishes the game wasn't tied to the movie that was released soon after, so they could have had a bit more freedom in their design and choices, but this reboot is an amazing new start for a stalwart of the PlayStation, and hopefully only good things can happen going forward.
Why do you hide, stinky aliens? Mr. Zircon only wishes for to kill you.
Superhot managed to have probably the most innovative concept I've seen in a video game since the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor, with the bullet time-esque way that time slows down as you stay still, and it's a system that makes the game so much fun. The abstract visual style, the amazing delivery of the plot, and the insanity of the story all come together and make Superhot one of the most over-the-top and ridiculous games I've probably ever played, and the gameplay goes on top of that to make you feel like a badass every time. Few games allow you to pull off the insane moves that you can do in Superhot with as much control, with action that would usually be relegated to cutscenes and QTEs and other games being used from the word go in Superhot. The key thing is that no matter how many times you pull off an insane move, it never feels repetitive or like a slog. Dumping a clip from a pistol, throwing it at another guy and grabbing his airborne gun and clearing the room with the remaining bullets just feels amazing the first time, and probably even better the last time you pull it off. The Killstagram tool that they've built into the game makes seeing these moments and sharing them with your friends even easier, and watching them back at full speed is pretty awesome. Overall, Superhot is a super slick package that remains fun the whole time, and with a VR version just released, it doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon. In a time of my life where I increasingly care less about the multiplayer aspects of games, Overwatch manages to bring me back every time with its incredibly tight controls and just the way it oozes character. Blizzard hasn't reinvented the wheel with Overwatch's class-based FPS gameplay, but it does pretty much perfect it. Every character feels fun to play, regardless of your skill level, and the game actually feels balanced most of the time once you learn how to deal with every hero. This is made even more impressive when you take into account that there's 20 plus unique characters to choose from, and that list is still growing. Overwatch is as polished as you could want a game to be, as has become Blizzard's MO these past few years. The fact that the game looks like a DreamWorks movie is pretty incredible, and everything looks amazingly fluid in motion as well. Overwatch's real strength lays in its characters though. Every character looks unique and is immediately apparent how you're going to try and kill you. That big guy in a suit of armour who's wielding a massive hammer, of course he's going to charge you down and bash your head in. These characters also act as a double-edged sword for me though. They're that damn interesting and fleshed out, I feel myself just wanting some form of single player story to chew on, because I want to know everything about these characters and the world that they live in. For everything that's become stale in the FPS genre in recent years, Doom manages to show that there's some truth to the saying the classics are always the best. Putting keycards, insane movement speed and removing reloads in a modern shooter sounds like insanity, when that's what we've been used to for these past 10 years, but Doom pulls it all off so well, and manages not to feel like a throwback to those old games, but more of a reimagining of those concepts in a modern game. There's something to be said for a game that runs at 100 miles an hour, but still manages to make me feel in total control. Blasting away a few imps with my shotgun before quickly switching to the assault rifle to take down a Kaku demon, then ripping off a Mancubus's head clean off its shoulders just becomes second nature while playing, but still feels amazingly satisfying every time. Doom's commitment to almost being a parody of itself at times is one of its strongest features. They revel in the ludicrous nature of the game and almost poke fun at everyone else for being so serious. From a computer monitor that just reads demonic invasion in progress in block capitals, to the almost comedic timing of some of the ridiculous guitar riffs, Doom is essentially the friend that says, "Are you ready to go?" before grabbing you by the wrist and dragging you along before you have a chance to answer. We can only hope that other FPS series look to Doom for inspiration in the coming years, but it's just a shame about the multiplayer being so lackluster. But hey, Quake's only a year away. For a game 10 plus years in the making, Final Fantasy 15 for me manages to live up to all the hype, with its amazing gameplay, incredible characters, and insane attention to detail. Few games have had me as invested in the relationships between characters as Final Fantasy 15 does with Noctis and his merry band of brothers. Small interactions from Noctis being nudged awake when the group arrives at their destination, to a small fist bump with Prompto when you defeat a tough enemy. They all add up and make these four really seem like lifelong friends, something I feel like a lot of games overlook. The gameplay is probably as far from a traditional Final Fantasy game as it's ever been, but the surprising part is that it all just works and feels incredible when you pull it off well. The combat flows really well and looks anime-esque while doing so. What felt like a mess of characters at the start soon starts to make sense to the player, and picking the right moment to dodge or warp strike an enemy becomes second nature. While the story does have flaws and a few gaps that need plugged, it's not hard to look past these when everything else going on is so well done. The characters more than make up for this, and Noctis is probably the best protagonist we've seen in the series in a long time. And there were strifes within the group that I actually felt really invested in. All in all, Final Fantasy 15 does what no one thought it would ever do. It manages to drag the JRPG formula, kicking and screaming into the 21st century, and it does a pretty masterful job of it as well. And that's why Final Fantasy 15 is my game of the year.